Good to go. Okay. Hey, everybody. My name's Travis. I'm a recovering alcoholic addict. I've got about 5 years sobriety, coming up on 5 years sobriety, from around 20 plus years of hard drugs every day. Uh, More going to try and focus on the message instead of the mess. But I guess it's started up when I was a child. Uh, Upbringing was real violent. Um, Parents were kids when they had me, I guess, mentally. I didn't understand it when I was a kid because it was just normalization of a fucked up life, I guess. I don't know what even call it, but we had morals and the difference between right and wrong, just in pure chaos all the time. My mom sold dope. My dad was in and out of jail. Didn't really see him too much. And when he did come around, it was violent and physical. So I carried that weight with me when I got older, which I didn't even realize I was carrying. And mom was tried to raise me, single mom, out in the kind of like the countryside, whatever. So I grew up like in the forest and stuff like that, with running around with all my friends and whatever. But even then, every little town, like nice town, has its dark secrets, I guess, or whatever. So there was a lot of drugs, and I always hung around kids that were older than me. And then I grew up in this really active home because mom was constantly doing the street pharmaceutical thing. So a lot of violence, a lot of fights, screaming, yelling, random people in my house. When I was really young, I'd wake up, nightmare or whatever, and nobody's in the house type shit. So it was chaotic to say the least. And then I got like uncles and aunts that were a mess too, just because of their upbringing. But again, like I said, I didn't understand it at the time. But as I got older, it kind of all clicked and dawned on me, about what what their upbringing was like for them and how they kind of generational trauma shit, how it comes down from one to the next to the next. So, uh, yeah, when I turned like 10 or 11 years old, I found drugs because there was kids that were older than me that I was hanging around with. And I mean, I wasn't even out of elementary school yet, and I was smoking weed, and I'd steal half grams of coke out of my mom's jewelry box, and then we did acid and all sorts of stuff. And that's like where it really progressed into years and years of abuse and drowning my pain in smoking it up a pipe or drinking it down a bottle, which didn't even realize that I was in that sort of state of mind, whatever, because everything was it was normal. It was normal to like, wake up in the morning and there's strange people in the house, whatever. It was just the definition of normal was so weird for years, and so far from what life actually is. And I couldn't see it. Um, so yeah. So as I got older, I progressed into taking on the family trade or whatever it was. So I got into selling drugs and got into some trouble with the law. We uh, moved here, there, and everywhere, all over the place for years. And then, yeah, I was in school until I was about 16. And that was one of my first assault charges against a teacher. So I got thrown out of school, beat an assault charge, got charged in an adult at 16. So that was like the first thing on my record, which just was like a spiral downhill from there to, I don't know. I was always, like I said, in that whole mentality of quick money, fast cash, sell dope, do this gangster shit, whatever the fuck it was. Um, yeah, so that was about. I mean, like I said, I don't want to. I'm not going to get into like dirty details and stuff like that, but it was 20 years, 15 years of every single day, and then selling a lot of dope to not selling dope and trying to get a job because I met this chick and I got her pregnant. So that was our first son coming on the way. And it was, I don't know, I was still so fucked up when she was pregnant. I was trying to be somebody that I already was, but I just didn't realize who I was. So I do speed every day to some. I we started a company. I'm a tree climber, so it's a real physical business. Trying to stay in shape, blah blah. And start this company and build it to what it is, and running through jobs, foaming out the mouth, doing speed every day, and fucking with meth and smoking crack on the weekends, and just being a total disaster. But yeah, I'm doing good. Everything's fine. You know what I mean? We're killing this. Life is great. Like everything's good. But in the meantime, the short process, I'm losing stuff that was like I valued the most in my life. You know. So um, yeah. So we went from, like I said, I met this girl and I wanted to change for her because she wasn't about that life. And I needed to change anyways because it had been so long. But the change that I needed or the change that I wanted wasn't the change that was gonna, you know, wasn't substantial, wasn't long term, because I was still using all the time while I was with her, and then she wasn't. I don't know. She wasn't about that. She was like grew up white picket fence type of thing, and I come from what I come from, so it was like a clash of heads constantly. Um, yeah, and then after my firstborn, my first son came, we started a tree company, had that going for a little bit, still going actually, but I had this serious drug problem, and it was, it got pretty bad at one point. I was lying to her; she was finding shit, whatever, whatever, and this and that. So break it down. Like I grew up, my aunts and uncles, they were all alcoholics and stuff. They used to give me their chips, like the way that they sounded when I flicked them in my fingers. Ding, ding. I'd be flicking these AA chips. And I always used to say, like, you never catch me dead in a church basement. I'll never go to rehab. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. Blah, blah, blah. And I don't have a problem. I'm not the issue. Everybody else is. And me type shit, So um, it was after we had Logan that I like, it was a lot. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was like, I wasn't ready. And like, everything that I knew about parenting, I just wanted the complete opposite for my son. And it was like I was doing everything that I was taught when I was a kid, fast cash, trying to hustle, this and that, still selling coke, blah, blah, all this shit. And she was like fed up. She was finding bags and this and that. She was like, what the fuck are you doing? And then I went from making really, really crazy money doing that to like $700 a week working at some fucking company. And I was like, this is crazy. So I'd always had this side hustle going. She got real fed up with it real fast. And then my drug habit was still the same as it was when I was dealing, but now I stopped dealing and I still have this fucking issue. And it was a mess. It was a mess for a couple of years. It was like I look back on it now and it like makes my skin crawl because I wasn't who I was, and it was like I was trying to be somebody that I already was, which is fucked up to explain, but I don't know. It took me a while to see it. So so we got to the point where I came home from work one day. She's like, I need to use your truck. And I was like, no, you don't. And she's like, yeah, I do. And then I had stuff in my truck and she had found it. So she's like, I need you to leave for the sake of the kids and blah, blah, and this and that. Because we had another son and I wasn't any better. I was still doing what I was doing. I was always there. Like I never was like out in a bar or fucking, she never had to worry where I was or this and that. I was always home. I was there physically, just not mentally. And I'd be lying there staring at the ceiling, waiting for the sun to come up or my alarm clock to go off so I can get up and go to work the next day because I'm fucking wired from the day before. Like it was messy. It was a messy situation. And then we had our second kid, and that was a total surprise and a shock at the same time. And I just couldn't get a grip on it. I couldn't. I was trying. I tried to quit a couple of times and it was just fucking tough. And then she was like, I'm leaving. Like, I came home one day and my stuff was out on the front porch, and she's like, you can't stay here anymore. And like the one thing that I wanted the most was to have like a good family and a good upbringing for my kids, because I didn't. My dad left me waiting on stoops, or you'd get collect calls from prison and shit like this on birthdays. Hey, bud, how are you? Type shit. So it was like, you know, I wanted to give that life to my kids that I never had. So, and in the process, kind of didn't, but that's still coming in the story anyway. So, um, yeah, so I left the house and it killed me. I went and stayed at my cousin's place, and I was still using for like a week. And then I don't know, I was driving to work one morning and I like looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like fucking living at my cousin's. I was 30 something years old. I was like lost my family because I fucking couldn't get a grip on who I was and all this shit. And I don't know, I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. It like, I'll never forget it actually. I'll never forget it. It was dark. It was in the morning. It was fucking winter time. I'm driving to work doing this dead end job just so I can pay for my fucking habit at this point. It was like, it was ridiculous. So, um, yeah, I I said, fuck it. I applied to some rehabs. I said, I'll give it a shot. You know what I mean? I can't, like, I'm not, this isn't working on my own. I detoxed at my cousin's house for like fucking 9 days, cold sweats, puking, the whole kit. It was rough. It was rough. And then I got accepted to one actually not too far from my house. And it worked out to the point where it was like, come in, we'll take you right away. This is right before COVID too, like just pre-COVID. And I actually went in a day before lockdown, like before they locked everything down, and well, where we are anyways. So went into rehab, met this guy John. Um was another native boy from out past Ottawa. Super nice guy. We butt heads in the beginning, but we become to be pretty close. And I just couldn't, I don't know. I was in there for like the first 5 6 days. I just couldn't. I wasn't listening. I couldn't take it in. It was fucked up. It was like God this and Jesus that and fucking powerless and blah blah blah. All this shit they were trying to put in my head. I'm like, what is this, a fucking cult? Like, I don't understand. Like, you guys really believe in this stuff? Like, listen, to each their own for religion and all that stuff. I'm about it, but like, I just couldn't get the whole Jesus Christ, blah, 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 all this stuff. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't. It just wasn't my thing. And that was the only thing that was like fucking holding me back. And then like, find your higher power and blah, 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 and this and that. And these steps and all this shit. And I was like, what is this? Like, it sounds so fucking, I don't know. It just sounded lame to me. I was like, not even lame, but just like, is this really what it takes for, you know what I mean? Like, is this it? And because I was so narrow minded and fucking what I'd seen, like growing up, everybody had chips. My aunt stayed one timer chips. Fucking day, she had a whole stack of them. It's like Jesus. I look back on it now. I'm like, how many fucking times did you go back and get this chip? Like Jesus, like you know what I mean? I have some friends in the program right now that are struggling and they don't even want to take a third one. And I remember she had a whole stack like this. I was like, this is anyway. So I did it. We did it. I tried, and then I found some native boys because I'm part native. So they do a different section. It's not Jesus, it's creator, it's the land, it's your higher power to be I anything. So that changed it for me big time. Within that 6 days, it wasn't so oh fuck, I just got to get through this and I'll get out and I'll be okay and everything's blah 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 and this and that. It was like no, it's like the fast way out isn't usually necessarily the good way out, right? Um, so I started doing stuff with this dude. I did my steps. Um, I met this fucking crazy guy. He's on here right now. Uh, my kids went to school at this private school in a little suburb close to my house, and I met this guy whose kids also went there, and we talked whatever this and that, blah blah, all this stuff, and hearing that, and he was like the only other cool parent there, pretty much that I'd actually talked to, and then when I was in rehab, it was lockdown, so all AA meetings are Zoom. There's no in-person stuff. We're not going anywhere. We're not doing anything like that. So it broke down to we're doing this meeting one night, and I see this guy on the camera, and I'm like, "Fuck, I'm sure that's this guy." Blah blah blah, this and that. So like, whatever. I do my time in rehab. Um, I was supposed to be there for 42 days. I did 23 or 24, and my phone was ringing for the company. I was good. I just couldn't wait to get the fuck out of there. I missed my family. I wanted to go back home. My wife was like, "You can come back." So uh, I bounced. And when I got out of rehab, I really stuck to it. They had me on all sorts of fucking medication for ADHD and hypertension and blah 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 and sleeping pills and no and a pill for this and a pill for that. That only lasted about a week or two, and I stopped doing all that shit because I take the hypertension medication and just fucking sit there and stare at the wall. And I was like, is this really what it is? You just keep me. I get out of rehab and I feel like I'm just as doped up as I was before I went in there. Like it just made no sense to me. So I kind of went on my own path for a little bit when I got out of rehab. I was so busy with work, anyways. Their tree company was popping off, and the kids, and blah blah blah. And this new life that I had fucking never even, I don't know, I never touched. Like I said, I did hard drugs every day for 20 years, every day. So it was like to be sober again and have like a clear mind, not be foggy or have some chemical imbalance where I'm yelling at fucking people or fighting the guy at the gas station because he cut me off or whatever the fuck it was, right? It was like I think back, I was like, I was mental. I was like insane, like anything was possible. And so yeah, so I get into rehab and my tree company's popping off and getting calls, blah blah blah. The guy that I knew from the school with our kids calls me and he's like, "Hey, I need some tree work done. Can you come out and take a look at some stuff in my house?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I show up to his place and I'm not really messing with AA. I'm not really doing the program and stuff like that. It was locked down. It was COVID. Everything was fucked up, like Zoom meetings and shit. It was just weird. So um, I go to the quote at this guy's house for trees. And sure enough, it's the dude from the school that I saw on a Zoom meeting when I was in rehab. So I asked him, I'm like, "Hey, is it possible I saw you online?" And he's like, "Was that you in Marge's basement? That was a rehab that I was at." And I was like, "Yeah, that was me." He's like, "Oh, fuck, bro, what's your poison?" So boom, we start talking like that. And he's like, "Yeah, I was like 12 years sober at the time, or I think he had, what did you have, 12 or 13 years, something like that." Anyway, so it was lockdown. Nobody's allowed anywhere. We're not doing in-person meetings. This guy would come to my house every Wednesday. We'd bring Chinese food. We'd sit. We'd do a meeting for an hour. And afterwards, we'd have our own meeting, talk for a bit. Then he'd go home. Every single Wednesday for fucking Jesus. I want to say at least a year. And it really, really opened my eyes to what sober living was like. And I fucking go to these meetings and I'd see these guys who got sober the year I was born. And I was like, bro, like, you haven't figured this out yet? Like, you're still coming to these meetings? And like, yeah, well, the reason why I'm still sober is because I come to these fucking meetings. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I mean, like, again, I didn't have like, I don't know, I had so much anger in me when I was a kid. It was like I transformed it into like, I always I hustled a lot. I always wanted to make money because I grew up a little broke, whatever, whatever. Yeah, we had fast cash all the time. My mom did a lot of traveling and stuff, but it was like it wasn't anything crazy. So, like, I wanted to provide a good life for my kids, and I thought that drug dealing and hustling was going to be the fucking way to do it. And anyway, still to this day, Mike, he's on you right now. That's my sponsor. That's the guy that I met. That's my man right there. And like they get super vulnerable with this guy. We tell each other everything. I talk to him whenever I can, and that part of the program is beautiful. Just to know that I have somebody I can reach out to any day, no judgment. You know what I mean? Hey, I'm going through a hard time, whatever it is, whatever it is, and like the stuff I've learned too along the way, and not in the beginning. Like I went to meetings for like 4 or 5 months where I just sit there and I was like, oh, okay, we're doing this again. Fucking all right, cool, here we go. And then I don't know, you start listening. You listen to these guys, you hear a story, and you're like, oh shit, wow, that's quite similar to me. And then fuck, if he can make it, maybe I can. And it's a battle for sure. It's a struggle. I'm 5 years. I still like I'm doing some things, car shows, this and that. I've been fucking around with some sports bars and stuff like this. And it's like, everybody asks me, "Are you good? Are you good?" I'm like, "Hey, yeah, what's in your drink? Is that a virgin?" Type shit. But yeah, it's all good. It's good. But if you just randomly see me leave at like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, just know it was because I had to get the fuck out of there. You know what I mean? And I'm 5 years sober. So it's like, you find I find it never leaves you. The obsession leaves you a little bit, but like the actual And then I asked myself, like, was I born an alcoholic? Like, mom always called it the gene. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a whole family of fucking degenerates, blah, blah, blah. You're set up for failure. No, no, no. This is like my own parents telling me this when I was a kid. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, fucking, hey, let's go. You know what I mean? I got this. Watch, I'm going to be the next fucking Tony Montana here. And then it was like, I don't know. I don't know. Once I started seeing like the progress, I mean, I'm all about payoff. Even in my own world, in my own little thing, I'm fucked up like that. If it doesn't work out for me, not into like this selfish degree, but like it's still me shit, right? Because I'm an addict, but I'm about payoff in the long term run, right? So like what I saw from being sober for like a year and a half was like it was amazing. I had fucking money in my bank account. I could hold a conversation. I wasn't like some tweaked out fucking, you know what I mean? It was like I was doing it. I wasn't worrying about the guy that's trying to push it on my turf, blah, blah, this, not all this stuff. And it was, you know, and I mean, in my dope dealing days, like we would walk around with handguns, stuff like that. Like we were like, you know, we were forced to be reckoned with. Any hood that we went into was like, oh fuck, here they come, type shit. You know what I mean? And it was like, you know, because I had this trauma in me, type shit, like had nothing to lose or whatever it was. It was, I don't know. And the whole growing part through this is a beautiful thing. If you come to accept it and what you come from type shit, you want to break that stuff. I mean, like I said, it's not easy. It's not. Even me now, I still, you know, it's not like the obsession has left me like completely, and I relapsing to me is terrifying because I don't. If I relapse, I don't think I'm coming back. Type shit. You know what I mean? Like if I ever went down that road again, I just, I really, so I keep that fear of that on the side, and the payoff for me of being sober is just, well, I don't know, it's like tenfold. It's totally different. Everybody in my life, I had to cut people out too, like crazy guys I grew up with, fucking even some family members that that I, you know, family in my blood, and like, you know, I've learned to come that misery loves company, and when I have somebody in my fucking life who's just, you know, I try to get them and try to help them, whatever, do what you can. You know what I mean? You got to want it at the same time. A lot of people that try and get sober, they battle this shit for years and years. And it's tough. It really is, especially to do it on your own. So, you know, me, I tell whoever that I see trying to, you know, have a problem, whatever, you should try and get involved in a meeting, try and get a sponsor, like-minded individual that you can talk to about stuff. Because I mean, yeah, you can carry that. You could do it on your own for sure. Everybody's like, you know, it is what it is, right? But I find that the program really helped, really helps. And I was, you know, voted most not to go to a fucking meeting ever. And I do. I have a couple of sponsees right now that we talk every maybe once a week. And yeah, coming up on 5 years sober, and it feels fucking good. It really does. But like I said, it's still a bit of a battle. It's a battle for sure. But one day at a time. And yeah, that's about all I got right now.